Hi everyone, it's Adam from webstarts.com and I'm here today with my review of Google Glass. Now, a couple of days ago, Google released to the general public for the first time the opportunity to order up Google Glass as part of their Explorer program. And although they say that Google Glass is not quite ready for prime time, I'm giving you a first glimpse into what it's like to own a pair. When I first received my pair of Google Glass, my first impression is that they were lightweight and they were also sturdy, which is great because when you put them on, you don't feel a lot of pressure on the bridge of your nose or back here by the tops of your ears. In the past, I've had glasses, and after a full day of wearing them, you get a little bit of soreness here and also here. I didn't feel that with Google Glass, so that was one of the real benefits. They seem very durable, and if I'm going to be wearing them on my face all the time, I want them to be both durable and comfortable. Glass came with a partial charge right out of the box, so I was able to just turn them on using this small little power button here on the inside of Glass and then put them on my face. The first time that I put them on, looking through the lens and into the display, you see a short tutorial that shows you how to navigate through the user interface. One of my expectations for Google Glass is that I was going to be able to navigate a lot by using voice commands. And what I found out is that this isn't exactly the case, although there are several very commonly used voice commands. For example, take a picture, make a phone call, record a video, post to Facebook if you have the Facebook app installed. They're somewhat limited. You're not going to navigate Google Glass simply by speaking to it and saying forward, back, cancel, stop, play, things like that. Instead, what they want you to do is use the swiping motion on the trackpad on the side of Google Glass and the tapping to navigate the interface. However, what I found is that one of the first things when I put on Glass is I put them on a little bit crooked, kind of like this, staggered. And I think I did that to get the display to be in my line of sight. But also I found that the tapping sometimes didn't register, and sometimes it registered too frequently. So for example, I would tap once and it would tap twice, or I would tap 3 times and it wouldn't register a single tap. I also found the same thing with the swipe. So swiping forward and back, 1 finger or 2 finger, it's not always 100%. It's a little bit like using an Android phone versus an iPhone, meaning it's functional, but it's just not as smooth as you would expect. Another thing that I did was, I think because we use touchscreens so much in our modern day life, is that I oftentimes found myself touching a little bit too far up the trackpad, somewhere near the camera lens, simply because that's closer to where the display appears. Now, when you're not using Glass, it automatically goes into a sleep mode in order to save battery. And one of the settings allows you to do a head gesture to turn it on, and I found that that head gesture doesn't work real well either. I have it set to just 10 degrees, so really any 10-degree head gesture should activate the screen. But I found myself a lot of times nodding repeatedly and not having the screen initiate, and eventually I abandoned that method altogether and just ended up doing the tap, which of course doesn't work always as well. So you can imagine being in a public place and doing all these little quirks trying to get your screen to initiate so that you can talk to Glass. So with the trackpad sometimes being overly sensitive and sometimes not being sensitive enough, and with the lack of voice commands, I found that the appeal of the hands-free experience with Glass is less than what I expected. Just to get Glass set up to use for the first time requires you to charge the device, to install the Glass app on your phone, to sync the Bluetooth with your phone, and to set up a Wi-Fi network to connect to. And when you set up that Wi-Fi network, it doesn't give you a list of available networks to choose from. You have to manually enter the name of your Wi-Fi network, and I found that to be a little bit annoying. Once I got my Google Glass set up, I was really looking forward to launching the one killer app that drove me to the purchase of Glass, and that's the Livestream live broadcasting app. The idea behind this Livestream app is that I'll be able to broadcast anything that I see from any place directly to a URL on Livestream, or even embed that into a website. It was less than simple to install the Livestream app. It wasn't available in the glassware gallery on my phone like I thought it would be. I had to go to the Livestream website, find their software and download it. And before I downloaded and installed it onto my Google Glass, I had to set my Google Glass into debug mode. That can be a little tricky. You have to go into settings and find the licensing information or version information, excuse me, and then set debugging mode to on. Once you do that, you run the software on your local computer, it's installed, and then you have to set up a event or pair an event with the live stream app. Once the app is installed on your phone, it's not super intuitive to launch. You say OK Glass and then you say live stream, but live stream appears at the bottom of the commands that are displayed when you're wearing glass, so it's not super obvious what to do next. I had to read the instructions by going to the live stream website. Now once I launched the live stream app, it was great. I could broadcast live video directly to that URL, and the quality was very good, and I was very impressed with that. However, I've read a lot about battery being an issue with glass, and I found that after several minutes of recording, of course my battery was extremely low, and so I put glass back on the charger. Now glass comes with Glassware XE12 out of the box. That's the version of the software. And the latest version is XE16. And in order to update to XE16, what you need to do is ensure that your glass is connected to the internet and that it's plugged into the wall mount charger so that it has a good 100%, 90-100% charge. And the way that this works is glass automatically updates, so it's pushed from Google servers. And what I found is after charging my glass for about 3 or 4 hours, my update still wasn't available. And I desperately wanted this update because I was told it would greatly extend the battery life, which so far was my #1 complaint. However, after plugging my glass back into the wall for another couple of hours, I finally saw that the update is available, and then I was able to do the update. Online, I heard rumors that the update could take up to 3 hours. It actually only took about 10 minutes, but on the downside, it deleted everything that I had already installed and set up and configured with my Google Glass. To my dismay, after I downloaded XE16, the live stream app no longer worked and was no longer available on my Google Glass. So I went to the website, I sent an email to Livestream, and they confirmed that indeed there is an issue and they expect to fix it with their next release. Another thing that I found out with XE16, the latest version of the software, is that Google removed the ability to do video calls. And earlier in the day, I had done some video calls via Google Hangout with some of the guys in the office, and it worked okay, but Google said only about 10% of people were using the feature and that it didn't meet up to their expectations, so they decided to remove it. That was a real disappointment because between losing the live stream app and losing the video call function, I could no longer achieve one of the primary functions that I thought I would with Google Glass, which was sharing live video feeds and letting people see what I'm seeing from a remote location. Okay, so near the end of the day, I decided to take Google Glass out of the house and go to the grocery store. So I took it up to my local Publix market, and one of the things I noticed right away is I felt very self-conscious wearing the glass. Normally, I'm not a very self-conscious person, and for me to be wearing the glass, it's kind of like walking around like a cyborg with the latest geek wear on your head. And everybody that was walking around the store seemed to be looking at me with a little bit of a funny or curious look. Finally, when I got up to the deli counter, a gal says to me, "Nice glass," and I respond and have a short conversation with her, and she talks about how she's on the waiting list or whatever, and I kind of gave her my opinion so far of glass. And I also ran into another couple of guys that were really excited about glass, and they wanted to try it, but in the midst of walking through the grocery store, my glass totally died. There was no battery warning, no anything, and it just completely became bricked. I tried to push the power button, reset it, wouldn't do anything. So I finally took it home, and I was able to get it reset and turned it on, and by holding down the power button for a long period of time and letting it charge up. So I'm not real sure if that just was a glitch or whether the battery died or what. But those guys were really excited about my Google Glass. I would have let them get a look at it, but it wasn't functioning. So that was kind of a bummer to not be able to get their reaction. Overall, I just don't think Google Glass will be the next big thing. I mean, between having this thing front and center on your face in public all the time, drawing attention to it, I really don't think that's the type of technology people are looking for. I think they want technology to get out of the way. And it has all the same problems that my other electronic devices have. It doesn't stay connected to Bluetooth very well. If you're not connected, the functionality is somewhat limited. The battery is in constant need of charging. And overall, I would say the navigation was difficult and it just wasn't a real robust or intuitive experience with Glass. I think that in the future there could be some limited use for Glass. For example, on the Google website it shows a fireman writing glassware for firefighters to get information and have their hands free. I think in some of those environments it might have a practical use, but overall I just don't think that this is the next big thing, and I certainly don't think it's worth the $1,500 Google's charging for Glass, or even close to that. In fact, I probably wouldn't have paid $200 for these retrospectively. Another thing that I really didn't like about the Glass experience is that my eyes were constantly drawn to the screen when it's on, and this actually gave me a feeling of nausea, and I constantly found myself taking off Glass and trying to rest my eyes. And when the glasses were off, I would continue to feel kind of tired and worn out from my eye constantly looking up at the screen. So that just wasn't a very good experience. I also tried them while driving, and I found that your eyes have a real hard time focusing and getting any usable information from that screen that's real close to your eyeball, and also using your peripheral vision at the same time to keep track of the road. So I don't think that's entirely safe, but not only is it entirely safe, it also doesn't really work from an optics perspective. Another annoyance is that the idea that I'm going to wear this Glass around town and this is going to be easier for me is lost, because Glass requires you to have an app installed on your Android or iPhone at all times, so you're not going to be able to leave your phone at home and still make use of Glass. Furthermore, if you do record photos or videos with Glass, right now they can only be shared with Google Circles, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. In other words, apps that are already written for glassware. There's no way to download those videos from the Glass themselves. So for example, I wanted to put together a highlight reel of my son's baseball games and record those whole games using Glass. I'm not able to do that because I can't get the video into a workable format off the actual device. My junk drawer is full of electronics that promise to make my life easier, better, safer, smarter, whatever. And unfortunately, it looks like Google Glass will be just another one of those electronic pieces of junk in my drawer.